Carlton is the other big club, Victorian club, that's under the pump at the moment. What's Michael Voss thinking at the moment, Bucks, at zipping 4 as well and heading into what most would describe as a winnable game against the lowly ranked Eagles?
Yeah, we've always thought that predictability is a good thing, but not when you're not going well. Not when it's predictable that you're going to start well, you're going to show some energy, you're going to get to halftime and you'll be in the game, and then you get ground out of it, or you can't sustain the effort, you can't sustain the run, you can't hit the targets. The game's either too fast or too long for Carlton at the moment, and they're really challenged by that, and there's too much of a reliance on TDK and Crippa to get the job done, and there's just not enough synergy in their team play.
What worries you more as a coach? That sort of stuff, the strategy and maybe the execution, or some of the effort and the willingness to really put your body on the line in certain situations in the second half?
What would Vossi be focusing on?
He'd be focusing on the contest stuff, which he spoke about post-game, but he'd be seething. One of the hardest men that's ever laced a boot in our game. This is unacceptable. It's happening from senior leaders, which you'd be so disappointed about.
Well, Doherty coming back there, that's a panic kick. We've seen that a bit. Ollie Hollands, young player, got to keep your head over it. And these are key contests. The game was in the balance. Zach Williams here, going back to the fight. That's a pretend effort to go back.
Yeah, that's shocking.
And that was early in the last quarter when there was only a couple of goals in it. It was a low-scoring game. So you think about how important each and every one of those contests were, especially when they're in your D50 or in your forward 50. And like they're not inexperienced players. Doherty's been around for a while.
Can you pick Doherty and Williams off the back of those efforts there? As senior players, like Ollie Hollands, you might be able to give a pass as a younger player, but can you pick Doherty and Zach Williams off what we've just seen there?
Doherty had 27 touches, but he looks like his body, like he's been a great servant of that club for a long time, and he'll be sick of hearing this because it's starting to come more and more. But I reckon if you're an experienced player in the modern game, you can pick up 25 without even raising a sweat. It's not so much how many touches you get, it's your effectiveness. How do you stand up in the contest? And it looks to me like physically he's starting to be affected a little bit. And that seems to be the prevailing view of where he is in his footy. Zach Williams, Mitch McGovern are two that I named earlier in the year. They just need to be harder. They need to be harder and more consistent in the contest.
That's right. And I think it's probably more powerful behind the scenes. And I can guarantee Vossi's from Robert Walls' school, which you are as well. Walls used to show those situations, no matter who it was, and the boys would often talk about it. He'd show those situations and he'd rewind through it at the review meeting. So
you reckon Vossi would be showing those instances?
He mightn't be hitting the rewind button, but he'd be showing it. Now, yes, there's the public humiliation or, obviously the disappointment. We're all talking about the public side of things. I think he would more likely to address it with the playing group, show the examples, as opposed to dropping a player.
Is there not the way of setting the standard, though, with one of your senior players?
Yeah, but isn't it setting the standard, though, in front of your groups, in front of your teammates, that getting shown in the review meeting, that's as powerful, if not more powerful, than dropping a player?
That needs to benefit the team. Whatever the decisions are needs to benefit the team going forward. If you need to execute one to educate the majority, well, then that's part of it. But let's be clear, we're only tabling this because we think it is affecting the ability of the Carlton Football Club to play its best football and to win games of footy. It's not a personal slight. It's not an attack on character. It's just you need to be making these plays as a professional footballer if you want to be a part of a winning team. And we've all been...
Well, it's actions,
we've all had that at different times.
Ever on the end of one of Wolsey's rewinds were you? Wouldn't have been one of those.
Yeah, I think I stuck one tackle in 6 weeks.
I want to put the demon of expectation on the agenda, and we've spoken about this on AFL 360, Geordie, in previous years. How heavy would that be weighing on Carlton coming up against West Coast this weekend in Gather Round?
Well, I mean, there's a few big games this weekend where the loser, the fallout is huge. Well, it's just plain and simple. They cannot drop this game. I mean, if they drop this game, there's already been calls for Michael Voss's head and players to be dropped and actions to be really questioned, which is out there and a lot of it's true. If they drop this game, expect things to get much worse. And then after that, they've got North Melbourne. So they need to win both of those games to try and keep the Wolves at bay.
Big battle on the game, Bucks, was Pendlebury versus Cripps. Yeah. How did you see this one?
Yeah, well, this is the most decorated tagger to ever play.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, and it snuck under the radar, but Pendles came off the half-forward flank, Wasn't in centre bounce for all of it, but was looking for Paddock Cripps at any opportunity. Pendle's had high 20s himself, kept Cripps to 16. Only 6 contested possessions and 3 clearances for the night. There's not many that Pendles can outrun.
But that's a whack.
Well, that's just a fact. But there's plenty that he can outguile, and he's one of the few that's got a big enough body and that's smart enough to be able to handle.
Is he the perfect tag? Like, because I imagine Craig McRae would, and coaches would sometimes have to, like Pendlebury's a superstar, would have to sell the idea around tagging. Like 400 odd games, Scott Pendlebury obviously played in a couple of premierships. I imagine there would have been no pushback from him.
No, we've used him in that role against Paddy Cripps quite often as a run with. Play on him and off him, and he's. You have certain.
He's the perfect matchup.
You have certain opponents that you come up against. You've got a good record, and you're really confident because you can take away some of their strength. You know a little bit about their favourite tricks and where they might get some a little bit of separation and stoppage, and you take that away. And if Pendles plays with someone long enough, he's going to work them out. And he had a great night.
I think they described the call team said he might be able to get to 500 after the job that he did on Patrick Cripps. I didn't imagine.
Well, was that you? Was it the call?
No, it wasn't calling. It wasn't calling.